man, surrounding yourself by people that aren't afraid to tell you you don't know shit, and then being humble enough to not throw them out the door, I think is like that was huge for me. Because I definitely had plenty of chances I could have been like, nope, I'm CEO, I'm in charge, get the hell out. And, you know, whether it was the hard work or just seeing my parents, like there was something in me that, you know, I felt like, all right, I'll take what you have to say.
Real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward.
Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast. This is Trevor Cowley, as usual, Kilo G.
What up?
Guys, today we have an individual on the podcast that, you know, is known as the trash man.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he takes out the trash, you know, literally and metaphorically. You know what I mean? So whether you're talking about the mental trash in your mind or whatever it is, this individual's done a lot of cool things in business. We've got Garrett Larson on the show today. He owns Larson Waste. First off, welcome and thank you for, you know, coming up here to be on the show. We just got done being interviewed by him for his podcast. What's the name of your podcast, by the way, so we can throw that out there real quick?
Yeah, it's the Trash Talk podcast. Okay. Kind of tied in there with
the trash, the trash man,
yeah.
trash talk. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think we talked a little bit of trash, you know, on that. So I'm glad that we lived up to the name there.
Yeah. Again, dude, appreciate
awesome.
you having us on yours. And like now we get to put you in the hot seat and ask you some questions, get to know more about you. And I'm excited to learn about what you're doing, man.
Yeah, I told you I'd ask hard questions. Have you ever done crack?
Yeah.
No
crack.
He said yeah.
No crack.
Let's jump right into your drug pass.
Yeah. You said
hey, listen, I got a CDL. I passed my drug test for my
Okay.
CDL. All right, so
whose pee did you get to do that? You said first. The first reply is always the right one. You know. No, I think Garrett's. I think he's clean. I think he's. I think he's doing well. He don't mess with that trash, right?
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. First, I want to start with the upbringing. We used to do that a lot back in the day on our old podcast. Really getting to know the individual, kind of how they grew up, because I think that determines a lot in terms of how we turn out, you know, as adults. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing, just real quick. Did you live high on the hog and eat out of a golden spoon, or what, bro?
Yeah, well, just a quick introduction. Like I said, it's Garrett Larson. And first off, I'm a guy that's going throughout the world that what I'm first and foremost committed to is living life on purpose, and I'm a committed husband, committed father, and business-wise, like I'm completely committed to creating in business a life that has my family as money not being a concern of what we do in our life.
Yeah,
we make decisions that's not a factor in our decision. It's what brings the most value, most joy, what fulfills us, and so that's me. And upbringing. You know, honestly, a lot of people have, and I've heard your guys' upbringing kind of rough, you know, or had a lot of struggles. Honestly, I definitely wouldn't say I grew up with a golden spoon in my life, but I've got no complaints with my upbringing. Like I do.
You got big family, little family?
So I got two older brothers, a younger sister.
So you got your ass handed to you here and there by the
here and there. I mean,
Okay.
my brother now, he's a Green Beret, but I can still kick his ass, my older brother. So
what's his name? We'll reach out to him to verify as well.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, but yeah, no, just good family, good community. It was a small town, a poor area.
Gotcha.
So, you know,
if it's a small town, poor area, you really don't even know that you're that poor because it's a small town and poor area, so everybody's living the same life.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is some cool shit.
Well, and that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
Maybe if I was in a different area, it would have been perceived by me like maybe we weren't as well off as I experienced it. But in our town, I mean, for our town, it was like, man, we get to go on vacations, we get to get new clothes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So in my world, it was like, man, yeah, we're
You didn't get cousins' hand-me-downs, bro? Shit, I always hated that.
I got the brother ones until I got bigger than both of them, and which I'm not a giant guy, so you guys are probably going, you're bigger than both your brothers, but so pretty good upbringing. But honestly, what I learned most, like what sticks out to me most about my upbringing, is my dad was and is the hardest worker you'll ever meet. He growing up, he was always starting businesses, but was never one. He never had one business. It was like 4 or 5 things going, and
he enjoyed chaos.
Yeah, I think he did, and he enjoyed the grind. One of the first things he did was he had a trucking company. He was hauling lumber across the country. My grandpa had a lumber mill, so he made a trucking company and would haul the lumber for him. And back in that day, it wasn't like it is now. If anyone's familiar with trucking, right now you've got a lot of limitations for how long you can go.
Yeah.
So my dad would I remember I'd get home from preschool lots of times, and he'd already ran 4 or 5 loads that day. I'd hop in the truck with him, drive down to Phoenix, do one. We'd get back, I'd have dinner, and he would hop back in a roll-off truck because he'd start a garbage business, a roll-off business, and he'd run roll-offs for the next 4 hours, get home at midnight, and probably do some stuff in the books or something that I didn't even know about, and then start back up at 3 a.m. to run
I wonder
the loads.
how he got ahead. I don't see any.
Yeah, it's so
clues in
crazy.
there.
And you know what's funny? Growing up
No
in a small
clues at
town
all.
where growing up in a town where a lot of people talk, I can't tell you how many times growing up people would be like, "Oh, that Nolan Larson is in the Lucky Sperm Club." Like, and one of the businesses
called the hardworking sperm? I guess he was that one. Obviously worked hard enough to penetrate the egg.
Yeah, so
same as everybody else.
Yep, yeah.
Everybody won that race, you know.
So yeah, I mean, just what comes to mind is like upbringing, like. You know, I would imagine we were probably middle class. We got to do some fun things, especially as I got older. I'm sure it's because my dad was getting his businesses bigger and more
Were you
steady.
an athlete growing up? Did you play sports?
Yeah. My main sport was football. Did that through high school and got to play. I played 1 semester in college. That was a blast. Then did the missionary thing. If you've got a listener base here in Utah, I'm sure a lot of people know what the Mormon missionaries are. So when did that thing, came back and I married my high school sweetheart right off. So
I didn't know they had those in Arizona, dude.
I didn't know
missionaries.
either. I thought they all
just exclusively Utah.
Was Snowflake kind of a little Mormon town? Like,
So it was settled by Mormons, and my ancestors were Mormon pioneers, came over from Sweden, and they sent them right down to Snowflake. So it's kind of like home base there.
Yeah, they had a pretty good system coming across, didn't they, man? There's like, you're there, you're going
there.
there.
I think I've said the F word way too much around this guy. But
trust me, you haven't said as much as my wife does around me. So.
He's in the trash business. He's heard all sorts of trash come out of people's mouths. So.
Without getting too long-winded, just good upbringing. Good. Like, definitely wasn't. I wasn't golden spoon, but like what I would say was golden spoon is my example of my dad, my uncles. Like hardest
just
workers you'll ever meet.
Work.
Going to work, working a 12-hour day was like nothing.
That was a normal day. That was
you just did it.
That's just what you
and
do.
It was like, men go to work and you work your face off, and that's what you do. So,
The problem is most people don't focus on what needs to be done. They focus on what time it is.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. It's 5. It's time to go. Is the work done?
Yeah. Is everything done?
Okay.
Well, where the hell are you going?
Looks like you got some shit to do.
You
know what I mean? The bag of chips and the couch can wait. You know, you can Netflix and chill like at 9 or 10 or whatever, right? Again, and I alluded to this on your podcast. I just really don't think that. I think people are trying to do the minimum and getting the maximum. They give themselves credit for showing up the 40 hours a week or whatever it is, just like every other person, but yet they're expecting a different result than every other person receives. When you're putting out the same type of effort as they are, you're going to receive the same type of result as they receive.
Yeah.
Your dad didn't do what everybody else was doing. He put his head down and he grinded. And guess what? It takes a decade or so to just grind in order to set yourself up for a better life. It just is what it is. There is an exchange. There is a sacrifice period. Will you be bored? Will you not hang out with the homies? Will you not have late nights? Well, yeah, you'll have late nights, but at the office or at work.
Not
but
at
not
the party,
those
right?
type of late nights. There's a lot of sacrifices that need to be made, and I just don't think people are exchanging the right sacrifices in order to try to get the result that they want. Right? They want all the good shit. They want to hang out with the homies. They want to have the drinks. They want to, have the weekends. They want to do what everybody else is doing that's having fun. But they also want to do the things that entrepreneurs are doing that make a bunch of money. And those two things usually don't go hand in hand, especially immediately when you're starting out, because the workload is so great initially for the first 3 to 5 years before you can even have the thought. I don't even think I took one vacation in the first 4 or 5 years when I partnered with Kale, because it was just and even with my wife, when she would call work, don't call me at work.
Yeah.
I'm at work.
Yeah,
you know, you're a good man, so that probably wasn't you. Well, Kale's a good man. Kale Goodman.
It's my name.
Yeah, that's his name. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No. Me and my wife have that conversation all the time because, like, you know, lots of nights when I came on, because there's ebb and flows with business too, whether it's brand new or whether you're scaling up, whatever it might be happening. So, you know, my dad had done a ton of work to get us to a certain point. And then over the past 5 years, what I've been able to do is 4X what we were. And obviously that's had the late nights, and that takes to get to the next step. And
every level requires that same similar sacrifice that you put in the initial phases, right?
Yeah, if you're looking to grow 10% in your business, you can probably kind of sit back and not do much. Yeah. But if you're looking to do something worthwhile, it's gonna take that same effort. And one thing that's been really present for me is, because you said that with your wife and like, hey, don't call me, I'm working. I can't tell you how many times my wife at 9:00 brought dinner over out to the office. I was like, here you go. Like, wish you could have been there at dinner, yada, yada. And what's been really present to me is how important having the right spouse is if you're going to go into this game. Because if you've got a spouse that's going to make you feel bad. She's going to make you feel bad about chasing the dream and building a better life. Yeah. Like it's the wrong setup. It's not going to go well because it takes so much.
I just didn't know how to go from aggressive entrepreneur to husband.
Yeah.
In 1 second by saying hello. Boom. Like it was all in. Like this was the opportunity to create change for our family. When you grow up really poor and there's that opportunity right there, you didn't want to like fuck it up.
Yeah.
Right.
You're out there hunting, being a lion. It's like, hey, I can't be a teddy bear right now.
Well, you wonder why I'm getting snappy as shit. Like not right now. You know, and I actually feel bad about doing that. I probably should have maybe articulated why
maybe a little bit more work up front or something.
You know, or whatever. I mean, believe me, I've grown a lot. It's like the old saying, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. That was me back in the day, right? Like just deal with it. But I'm not saying that's the right way to go about it. But you do have to set boundaries in all aspects of your life in order to get the results that you say that you want, right?
Yeah. Something before we move on that, because I'm super curious if you guys have had to work through something like this, or if I'm way off kilter. But this aspect of hard work,
it could be both. Just so that you know, it could be way off kilter.
I'm off kilter. You guys are as well.
We all could be off kilter, but both think that we're right.
Yeah.
You know.
So the this hard work aspect, what it takes to get to where you want to go, I have definitely found myself at times in my career as it's moved along, there was just a shit ton of work that needs to get done. So I went in, put my head down, grinded, getting it done. Mm-hmm. And I found at times, though, I work hard for the sake of working hard. Mm-hmm. The movement is what I'm doing. I'm wanting that high of just getting stuff done. But when I pick my head up and look around, I realize I'm in mud spinning my wheels. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the best thing to do is step back and go, all right, what's the most impactful thing I can do, instead of just grind, work.
Addressing what comes to you that day versus you dictating the day and saying, this is what needs to be done today, because there's always going to be fires to put out, right? There's always going to be issues, and those issues will be there. But what are you doing also to move the needle outside of just putting out fires?
Yeah.
Right?
If you're always working in your business because you're in the grind and never working on your business, like I found a huge impact on my business when I finally did that. When I first came on, it took understanding business better. Yeah. It took doing every portion of my business, running a garbage route, being the guy that's in the trash, loading the trailer, pulling it, taking that trailer to the landfill, running every single aspect, getting my hands on it to really understand it. And it was just, it was a grind.
Yeah.
But then now I realize if I'm out running a route, I can hire guys that can run routes.
Right.
And they get paid $20 an hour to run a route.
Yeah.
My time's worth way more than that because I'm the only person in my business that can look out into the future and say,
work on it.
Yeah, how are we going to grow by 50% this year?
Everybody can work in your business, but not everybody can work on your business.
Yeah, so I just point that out because I think the some people call it hustle porn can get oversold to some people, and it's like, hey, so when you've done that work, you've got to then find a point to step back and be like, okay, what's the next step? I'm now CEO.
Right.
And I'm going to go be a CEO. I'm not going to be whatever it is, whether own a toilet cleaning business or
yeah.
whatever the hell it is.
Stay in the trenches.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just part of the growth cycle, though, man. You know what I mean? Like every business owner, if you talk to, it goes through that where they're just like, man, I was just grinding. But that brought your business to a certain point. What happened is then when you start surrounding yourself with other people and you start seeking out mentorship, you start learning like, oh shit, to scale, I can't just work hard and it's just going to happen one day. Like I actually have to step back and actually strategize. I can't just be the tactical entrepreneur. Like I've got to be strategic too, right? Well, and so you outgrow the guy in the trenches the whole time because you realize, oh man, I can bring everybody's life up with me if I start actually putting a plan in place.
And you're the only one that can do that as the business
if it's your
owner,
baby, it's your baby, man.
Yeah,
it's your business.
Well, there may be somebody that makes $15 an hour and you're taking their $20 an hour job running that route.
Yep.
They have the ability to grow and expand their life by taking on that job. But if you're sitting in that role, you're not creating that opportunity for other people. Yeah. The idea is to grow yourself out of whatever the role is that you're currently playing in your business. And whether that's at the very, very top, cool. What are you doing to potentially replace yourself there? Yeah. You know what I mean? So that you could, what's the next version of you or the next challenge? Unless the goal is $1 billion company or something like that, or whatever it is, then I could see like an Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos staying at the helm because they're talking about billions and billions of dollars.
Where's the top of it?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the next step? Well, it's kind of like what you guys said with, you guys have 6 different businesses that you've got going around, everything, might even be more than that. Where if you're in the trenches and you never pull yourself out of that, you never get to even see those opportunities. You're stuck in that. And you guys run a mastermind. If you're too busy in your business that you can't pull away and do a mastermind to go raise the whole tide for your whole business, like you got something broken in your business, and you need to address that.
Yeah, we talked about having our mastermind be on Thursday and Friday, and there was concerns initially brought up about it, right? Like, well, what if they can't be out of their business for 2 days, Thursday and Friday? And I said, well, then that's the fucking problem.
Yeah, then they need to get out of their business.
Then they need to be there, and they need to figure out how to make that work. Yeah. So maybe that's the lesson then, right? Like, what are you doing that's shackling you that hard to the business where you can't even be gone for 2 fucking days? Yeah. You're not doing it right then. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, start appointing somebody else in charge while you're gone and see how they operate, right?
And 90% of the time, it's an ego issue. I mean, you talked about it earlier. It's, hey, it's got to be my way. I'm the only one that can do this. I'm the best. And when you can let go of that as a leader and be like, all right, I trust this guy. I'm really going to trust him. Yeah. I'm not going to trust him like, hey, I'm watching right over his shoulder. Like, sure, put in some guardrails, but
well, that's one of the hardest things to do in business, man, because you outgrow this grind mode, right? Which I'm very grateful for those days. Like, it got me to a certain point. But then you start bringing people in. You have, like, the imposter syndrome. And so what do? You hire for where you're at instead of hire for where you're going. And so, dude, we haven't even started doing that until recently where we're trying to hire people better than us to take it to the next level, right? Like, you want to become $1 billion company, it's like, you got to hire people that have actually been there, right? And so that's intimidating, and so that's just something that people should really think about when they're trying to come out of that grind mode. It's like, man, it is intimidating, because you're like, why would this guy come work for me? Well, dude, you got to try, man. You got to put yourself out there, and you got to actually try and make that deal happen, because that's the way that you're going to get to that next level, is by getting people there in your company that have been at that level before. And so hire for not where you are, but where you want to go.
Amen. Yeah, Amen. Love that. What would you say was one of the more difficult times in business where it was just really beating you down mentally, and how did you handle it, or how did you address it?
Yeah.
Because we've all had moments where it was just like, fuck. Like, maybe I should be the guy driving at $20 an hour. It'd be a lot easier than doing all this shit.
Yeah. What comes to mind is really the struggle that was there. And I don't know how much I recognized or didn't recognize it at the time, but looking back, I can see the struggle was lack of an actual structure of a leadership team in the company. I'd say at that point, we were probably sitting at around like 30 employees, I would imagine. We had a handful of managers, but it was kind of shotgun. Everyone kind of just help out with everything. And what I realized is we had a lot of revenue coming in. That was looking good. But what was happening is we were just always stressed about money, and everything felt like it was always on fire and a mess. And so, you could step back and go, wow, what a good business. They're doing X million dollars a year. Like, wow. But internally it was like, why can't like a customer call and the cart gets out there on the day that we say it's going to get out there and it gets picked up on that day. And why do we have this big number up here? And we've even got a good number down here, but for some reason it's a stress to pay our payroll and it's a stress to get the equipment we need. And like, we always feel like we're broke. And so, now I could sit through someone tell me that. I'm like, all right, I know exactly what problems are going on there. Let's talk. Let's pull out your books and we're going to find all these. But I was probably 24 at that time.
How old are you now?
I'm 29, 30,
Okay.
29.
It don't matter anymore.
Yeah, it don't matter.
When you're sending it.
You're not supposed to
you're
forget until
sending
your
it.
40s.
Yeah. So yeah, I was 24 and everyone else in the business at least double my age in the leadership thing. So I was super intimidated about that.
Yeah.
You know, I had the respect of the title, but I hadn't yet earned the respect of like, okay, this guy, he's really here to lead us. He's dedicated to the company.
Yeah.
It's funny. I remember one thing I was doing. I didn't know what to do. Had no idea what to do, but I know I wanted to work hard. Just knew I wanted to give everything I could. I just didn't know what direction to go in it. And so I'd show up in my office. I'd make sure I was there before anyone else. I'd shut my door, and I'd make sure I didn't leave until everyone else was gone.
Yeah.
And a lot of that time was me sitting at my desk, wondering what the hell I was going to do, what I need to do to solve these problems. I had no idea, but I was like, I just have to show people that I'm here longer than anyone else, and I'm going to put in the work. And that was maybe a couple days of that. And then I went back to what I know, and that was sales. So I just started picking up the phone and I'd call to get customers. And I would really encourage people to do that. Like, now stepping back, like, I wouldn't be like, yeah, go make more sales calls. But the action that was taken, it just led into more things. And so I was like, all right, I'm landing some clients. Like, this is feeling good. Okay, I'm getting my feet underneath me. Okay, they're seeing that, like, I actually bring value to the business. Okay, now I can see something that needs to get done. I'm gonna run this meeting and I'm gonna reorganize how our company's structured.
Yeah.
And like, go there. And step by step, it went, and it all started from just taking action.
Yeah.
Even though the action that was taken had nothing to do with what had to be done. If I just waited and waited till I knew what had to be done over here, nothing would have ever been done.
The only time I can ever really figure things out is if I sit down alone with a pen and paper. And I start like writing shit down and just let it kind of go. And then I start seeing the pieces of the puzzle on paper.
Yeah.
Like, I have to do it visually. Right. And then I'm like, okay, well then this department, then this happens, and then this. And that's literally, I can't do it any other way.
Yeah.
You know, so I think some people are sitting there stuck in their head thinking like how. Lock yourself in an office with a pen and a paper and literally just kind of
write it down.
Start just going. Just start with something. Name all the employees in your business. Name all the departments in your business, and what's the biggest issue, and then start masterminding with yourself.
I've got notebooks of just like madness.
You can look at my dude. You can look at there. It's all my notebooks look like this, with just notes and scribbles and circles, and I mean, maybe in 100 years they're gonna be like, dude, can somebody transcribe this shit? What is the meaning of this? Like, like on the rock pledge. Yeah. My shit will be like a pet, like this makes scribbles. Oh, it must have been, like windy that day, or waves. There were waves. Lots
so
of waves
much mean,
back in the
what's
day.
it mean? Did he scratch it off? Did he kill that person?
Yeah, like it looks like an arrow went into, see, arrow from here to circle, check marks. Like, something was happening that was really profound. No, it was an idiot trying to figure out one fucking problem.
Didn't know what the hell to do.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, and this is going to sound so simple, but one of the most impactful thing a mentor has ever told me, and it's silly how simple it is. He was describing when he got into business and how he was taking on jobs that he didn't know how to handle. He was a metal fabricator.
Yeah.
And he said he was building a window grate and he wasn't quite sure how to make it fit and make it work. But he said, if you just interact with something long enough and you look at it, you play with it, and you interact with it, you can figure anything out.
Yeah.
And as simple as that is, like, that changed me and how I hold myself. We talked earlier about like challenges and things that are coming. Like, for me, I walk around like knowing I can handle anything, because given enough time, interacting with something, messing with it, looking at it, stepping back, looking at it again, I can figure anything out.
Yeah.
And when you have that realization, it's like, all right, whatever. I can go into any business. I can take on any challenge. It doesn't matter. Eventually, it'll be figured out.
Plus, all them old dogs probably beat you up pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
You know, I've been curious though how that was, just trying to lead all them men twice your age, like some of the challenges that you face there.
So interesting dynamic too.
Did you have to let a bunch of them go too because they're just shitheads towards you, or did everything turn out?
No, most of it turned out. We let one guy go, and one of the leaders guys there. But it is an interesting dynamic because the other part of the trash business is you'll find you've got a lot of people in your business that haven't had the smoothest life. Most of them have spent some time in prison. Yeah. Most of them, and so there's a whole different aspect to that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like luckily, they did beat me up quite a bit there for a while.
So my F words. Yeah, you've heard them.
Yeah. Trust me, my ears are just fine.
Yeah.
And honestly, your podcast, I'd feel more comfortable. I just know my mom listens to my podcast occasionally. And,
bleep them out. Bleep it all out.
No, you're fine.
Tell her to skip. Oh, you swear in your own podcast? I think you said shit or something.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I was gonna say your F words don't bother me. My wife swears like a sailor.
Let
I'm
me
around
ask you this:
prisoners.
if you grew up Mormon, did you literally ever have to bite on a bar of soap when you said like "shut up"?
You better believe it.
Fucking A.
You better believe it.
Now I get to say whatever I want, and there's no soapy taste in my mouth.
Yeah,
dude.
see, it kind of goes that way a little bit for me.
Yeah, it gets like
it goes that way with my dad, and it's funny because I'd never heard my dad say a swear word my whole life. Now that I'm an adult and when he's around me, he swears all the time now, and I love it. Yeah. But my mom, it's still just like, ooh, don't say the bad words around my mom. Like you don't.
I don't.
You don't want to.
I don't really. I curse a lot just in general, but around my mom, I pull back quite a bit. I mean, I'll say shit, damn, whatever, but she'll definitely give me a smack and be like, Trevor, I taught you better than that. And I'm like, sorry, I was raised in the streets, Ma. You were trying to raise 7 fucking kids at one time, dude. The ghetto got to me, dude.
Well, I mentioned my brother too. That's Green Beret. You can imagine, their language is very colorful. Yeah. It's the same way around my mom. He cleans it up, but man, they fly off sometimes, and he gets the backhand from my mom.
And then when I really grew up and decided to stop going at 13 and smoking weed and drinking beer, I think my mom was like, all that soap didn't work.
the soap didn't matter.
Well, you wash all your body and your inside, like you're screwing your whole life up.
Most of our parenting doesn't work.
Yeah. We're all guessing our way through
just
this
keeping them alive.
Cross your fingers.
That's right.
Spank them every once in a while and make them read. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but kind of just to wrap it up with that, like, man, surrounding yourself by people that aren't afraid to tell you you don't know shit, and then being humble enough to not throw them out the door. I think is that was huge for me because I definitely had plenty of chances I could have been like, nope, I'm CEO, I'm in charge, get the hell out. And whether it was the hard work or just seeing my parents, like there was something in me that I felt like all right, I'll take what you have to say.
Yeah, well, egos are capped out at what they know. Somebody that's open-minded, there's endless opportunity to know more. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it looks like that you just were a sponge, whether it was around your father, whether it was around individuals that worked for you, hell, you have your own podcast, so obviously you're still challenging yourself to this day and looking for ways to continue to improve. Yeah. And you're just open-minded to be shitty at something at first and learn from those around you. And that's a super important trait to become great at life, just in general.
Well, it's boring if you're perfect at everything you do.
Yeah.
Like life is going to be real boring if you're only staying in the lanes where everything's freaking easy.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: when you talked a little earlier about a supportive wife or spouse, just in general, it was like that just from day one. She's just like, sure, go ahead, do whatever. I got the house held down, or were there some back and forth? Because I'll flat out say that it wasn't like that for me in the beginning stages. She's a lot different now because there's a track record. There's data that says, okay, all of this sacrifice is worth it, right? Versus, I hadn't done anything up to that point to show her that, I was a man of integrity or in character. and that, I mean, let's just say I wasn't making a lot of good decisions. I was drinking a lot, things like that. And so maybe that was part of her lack of confidence in me just in general. And to give her credit, she was deserving to think that way.
Yeah. Right.
And so we had our battles, and it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I'm going to start investing with Kale into businesses. And it was like, okay, cool. You have 100%. It was battles. We battled back and forth. And so having a supportive spouse, I think is really, really important in terms of the long term. But I think that individuals need to understand that it might not happen at day one, because my relationship with my spouse, 12, 13 years later looks a lot different than, year 2, 3, or 4 in terms of the support. Right. But she was also raised a little bit differently. Go to school, you get a good job, and you work for 40 years and you retire. So
and you're home at 5.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe she had some bias about how she was raised, or, some other things, but obviously it's come full circle at this point. And so I want to kind of get your take on, the relationship that you have with your wife, and, how that looked from the beginning stages, or if it became more supportive as time went on.
Yeah. Yeah, well, something I believe is you don't find a supportive spouse, you create a supportive spouse.
I like that. Yeah.
And that's all about how you show up for her, and then giving her an example of how she can show up for you. But definitely to start off, man, it was messy, and it was like not communicating, me expecting her to just handle the house, and I go to work. That's how I was raised.
I'm doing my part.
And my dad worked for forever. My mom never gave him shit, and she just handled the house. And it was exactly, she grew up in a house where her dad he's still working at the same company that he started since she was born. He climbed up, been climbing up the corporate ladder, but 5 p.m. comes and it's time to go home, and that's how it goes. And so, there was a lot of tension, I would say, in the first 2 to 3 years there. Because in my worldview, it was like, no, this is what a man does. I'm out here till 9 o'clock. Deal with it. Yeah. What, you don't want us to be successful, and no concern of how I'm occurring for her as a husband. And I was really bad at I wanted to just show up and be like, oh yeah, look, I got a bunch of money. We made a bunch of money.
You just wanted to only be the massive provider.
Yeah.
And you were lacking in other areas.
Exactly. And, man, like you guys have talked about a mastermind a little bit, that there was a life-changing one that I went to that just flipped how I viewed the world. I mean, it was one of those ring the bells and bells can't be unrung, where it didn't change too much what I did. The epistemological side of things, the how-tos, like I had really worked hard on that. But take into account how I was occurring to others, that had just never entered my mind.
Well, if you're working all day and you show up tired and you have nothing to give at home, and no love, no care, no nothing for them or the children, don't you think that they're going to grow resentments towards the thing that creates an individual that's just exhausted all the time, and then you're giving everything to something else and nothing at home?
Yeah, right? Yeah, and it's a funny question, and it's like a question I'm sure you guys get all the time is, how do you do the work-life balance? And it's framed like it's a time thing that's got to be balanced and scheduled, and that's what does it. And when I realized, hey, this isn't a time thing, this is a impact, an intent. Yeah.
Do I have intent to be there?
Yeah. How can I show up for 10 minutes a day with my kid right before bed and show up in a way that he feels totally loved, supported, and connected to his dad? Rather than, hey, if I showed up at 5 and we're together for 3 hours each night, but I'm on my phone, I'm trying to watch my show, I throw an iPad in front of him. And so...
Yeah, you're there, but you're not there.
Yeah.
But you feel good because you're there.
Yeah. For outside looking in, I can say, yeah, I'm a good dad. I spend 3 hours a night with my kids. And so going through that process, like it was dirty, it was messy. There was a lot of fights. There was a lot of arguments.
This is why I wanted to dig this one up.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think... Have those arguments too, because you're not going to get to the good stuff just holding those in. Like I think that's why a lot of people end up just divorced, like boom, right away, or not right away, but like almost seems out of nowhere because they don't have those conversations. So as messy and as tough as those fights were, like that's
what through a lot.
Yeah, well, and that's what led like, oh, there's something here that ought to be addressed. Like, even if I couldn't articulate it, like what I'm committed to was still there underneath me. Like,
but sometimes the arguments are so exhausting that you would rather just show up in a real way than have those battles. Those battles are more exhausting than showing up as the man that you show up today.
Yeah. Yeah.
You actually get more energy showing up in the right way to where it serves you in other areas of your life.
Yeah.
The conversation that I had with her prior to, putting money in, and I said, I just don't think that you understand what it feels like to be a man and have to have the pressure to be the provider. That's something that's on my shoulders. So I have to do what I think is best as the provider and take this money and put it here. Obviously, the trucking company, the first thing we did wasn't the best idea. So she was right there on the first one, and so I had to talk her into the second one. But I think it's important for people, because you said it's important to have a supportive spouse. But I think it's important to understand you have to, like you said, create a supportive spouse by you showing up as a great spouse yourself. Because even if you go broke, trying to start a business, if you're showing up supportive and they're have the confidence that, and they feel safe and secure around you, it doesn't matter if you're rich or you're broke. They just want to be there with you, and they want to support your dreams at the highest level. But what are you doing to show up for them so that that's what they want to do for you? Whether you have money, you don't have money, whether you work late or you don't work late, they just know your intent and who you are as an individual, and that you're trying to make deposits in the areas that you say that were important, but yet your actions are over here only on the business, and you come home tired. I was guilty of that for many, many years.
Yeah.
It took me a long time before I really showed up in other areas of my life.
Well, my experience has been is if you're sitting there and you're going, she doesn't understand what it's like to have this weight on my shoulder to support the family. It's all on me. I've got to do this. It's tough. She doesn't understand that weight. The conversation to have isn't, hey, you're not understanding this and I want you to understand this. The conversation to have is, hey, I don't think I'm understanding what it's like to be you over there that's dependent on someone and whatever might be over there in her world. Because if you're not feeling heard from her, it's because she's not heard. Because if she's heard, she has nothing left over there except for to be curious of how it is for you.
Yeah.
And so as a leader, and this can be with your wife or with a team member or anything, as a leader, if you take the initiative to go be with them in a way where they're totally heard, they've got nothing more, and they're like, I'm understood. He understands what it's like to be me as much as he can. They just want to be seen, heard,
and appreciated.
Yeah. There's nothing left for them to do after that except for to go be with you. And when you reach that point, then it's like seamless. It's like, great, I'll leave all this tough stuff that is for me. I'll leave that behind and just go be with you over there.
Yeah.
And you'll get that in return. But I think what happens most of the time is two people are going, you don't understand me. You don't understand me. Let's talk at each other. And, oh, yeah, that must be really tough, but you have no idea what it's like to be worried about.
Trying to prove their point rather than see the other point of view.
Yeah, and the old saying is it takes two. Like, that's completely wrong. It takes one. It takes one leader to change anything. And if that one leader steps in and says, all right, yeah, I can put my stuff aside for a while.
Yeah.
It's okay, and I'll hear you. And then you'll get exactly what you're looking for. And I think for me, that's why my experience has been you create a supportive spouse in that way.
Through your actions.
Yeah, you don't find one.
Most people expect a supportive wife. They don't create it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think
expectation turns into lack of appreciation and then turns into resentment.
I love that. Yep. Yeah, and I think that and if you think you're too nice or too good to resent your wife, like, no, if you just got married and like, oh yeah, we'll never be that. Trust me, you can resent your wife.
Right.
And yeah, look out for that.
Or place blame. Right. I'm over here working so hard and you're not supportive. Right. That's resentment. Right. You have any other questions, Kel? I know Kel's got a flight out of here.
No, man, I don't got any questions. I was just enjoying the marriage talk.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly though, dude, I want to know a little bit about why you're going down the road that you're going down, right? Like you talked a little bit about what your business is, but why get on your own podcast? Why come be on our podcast? Why are you trying to put out in the world? Are you trying to expand across the nation, or like what are your goals on where you're wanting to go?
That's a great question.
Yeah, love it. So a lot of different factors there. So I'll start one thing that I just felt was totally lacking on the business, and after we kind of got our feet underneath us there, it was then like, all right, let's grow this thing.
Yeah.
Let's really make this worthwhile. My dad's given me this opportunity by building it up to here. Now, what am I going to do with this?
Right.
Am I going to sit there, or am I going to make this big? And so, marketing is something you will never before us, you've never seen that from a trash company.
Yeah.
No one markets their trash company. I was like, there's no reason not to.
Yeah.
Marketing works. Sales work. People like to make excuses that it doesn't. And so let's do that. So that's how Garrett the Trash Man was born.
Yeah.
To be a guy that marketed his business and turn the boring, mundane into something sexy.
Yeah.
And it's, I looked at Stance socks, and that was kind of my model. No one had ever taken socks and made socks cool, and they create a whole nother industry and had a lot of copycats right after that. I thought there's no reason we can't do this with trash. I love it. I love the trucks. I love the hard work. I love the grit about it. I love that it's so needed. Like, there's all this good. All right, let's start marketing it. Let's build a marketing team around it. Let's build a strategy around it. Let's do an Instagram. Let's do a YouTube. Let's do all this stuff. And so that's how it all kind of got started.
Yeah.
And what I loved about it, I've had to date four different guys that have launched a trash company off of either our YouTube, Instagram, or podcast, listening to us, interested, and then went and started a trash company.
Okay.
So you're like, oh, there's something there.
Yeah, there's something there. Like I really enjoy it. And so
you ever gonna coach people on how to do it?
Yeah, in a non formal way. So, they reach out and I'm like, hey, yeah, happy to help. Like, give me a call, this, that, and the other. And that's what I realized, like, man, I really love this coaching idea, this
being
helping,
of service,
being with people. What I really love is being with people. And constraint I really felt with my business is it's really kind of tied to an area.
Yeah.
We've opened new areas since I've been in the business, and it's a big process. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in trucks, containers, and I mean, I love the business, but it's a train getting started when you get going. When it's going, it's awesome because it's cooking along and you can really freaking move some stuff with it. But each start is getting a train going that takes a long time, chugga. And I realized, hey, I've got knowledge that can move across the country, and it can move across the country fast.
Cool.
And I've got it in an industry that is really unheard of. And like a lot of people are like shocked when I tell them, yeah, I run a trash company. They're like, I thought the city just did that, or the state, or I didn't really know. Yeah. And so I've realized there's some value I can bring to that. So I've enjoyed bringing the value, and I've got some things in the work of what's next. And building an audience and helping other people, I found there's no downside to it.
Yeah.
And there's only upside. So that's what's brought the podcast, why spend time on Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff to build the brand, because some of the things I've got coming up.
Yeah.
What motivated you to do that? Like, where did you get that idea? Like, just out of nowhere, it just hit you and just said, I need to hire a videographer and just start creating a personal brand and start, or was it just... content that you were listening to, and you're like, dude, I could do this.
I mean, it's probably been a mixture, and I couldn't nail down to something exactly. I could definitely say Gary Vee has had an influence on me. Like, I'm sure you guys have heard of him, and
Who is it?
Gary Vaynerchuk. You're dicking with me, aren't you?
Yeah.
So I came across one of his books and listened to that, and it was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then I had a buddy that had a cool in-speaker helmet company that he did a lot of marketing for, and so just discussions with him, and it was kind of just an overtime thing that started to get formed, and then just dove into it. And we've talked a little bit about doing things that you suck at first. Like, I go back seeing first Instagram posts, first podcast, things like that, and it's like, woof.
Yeah.
And I'm sure 2 years from now I'm going to look back at what I do now.
I had no followers. No support.
No wonder it wasn't growing.
Golly.
So just bigger dreams, man. Like, you just started realizing, no, this could be bigger. Right?
Yeah,
like,
and
who knows? It could be franchising, could be helping other companies in my niche. Like, there's a lot of riches in the niches, like we talked about with Shane. It's like, you dial in, you could be the man of that entire industry that really has a ginormous amount of influence that could increase, your wealth and a bunch of people's around you. So that's really cool that you just got to that point.
Attention and rubbing shoulders with guys. Like, having a podcast is a great excuse to DM you guys and be like, yo, let's do a podcast.
Right.
It brings a level of value to each of us, and it makes it, something, gives me a reason to be rubbing shoulders with high level.
We would have done it regardless, but there's many people who that is a massive way in the front door.
Yeah, if you don't have a certain following, I mean, attention is money.
Well, I mean, just in general, hey, I want to pick your brain, whatever. No, hey, I've got a podcast. I'd love to interview you. I really respect and love everything that you've done in business. Now it's a compliment, and you want to put them on.
Exactly.
You're giving them something before you ask of anything, right? Like I want to highlight you. I'm not asking you for shit. And there's a lot of power in that initially. And then you have those conversations and you get to know each other, and then who knows what happens after that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if somebody wants to reach out to you, they have questions about what you do or want to thank you for being on the show and sharing, especially the spouse part, because I know that that's a big issue in entrepreneurship. How would they find you and connect with you? Yeah.
Garrett the Trashman, Garett, 1 R 2 T's. I know that's a little bit weird. Really across any platform, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. If you send me something on TikTok, I'm not gonna look at it. But
that's his next challenge. That's what he's saying.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Just kidding. I know it's too many fucking platforms.
Gosh,
to keep up with. I'm like, fucking the next.
They're all
one,
huge
like,
too.
Oh, yeah.
They're all big. Yeah.
They can choose.
Yeah, and then the podcast is Trash Talk Podcast, and we love having conversations like this and getting into wherever we go with conversations. So
yeah, I mean, we were just on it, so I don't know what episode that is or when it's going to drop, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was a banger.
It was
I thought it was a banger. I mean, not to be biased, but fuck, it was solid as shit.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But for real, dude, we appreciate you coming up. For real, like both of you, taking time out of your day to connect with us, to have you on your show, for you guys to be here and on our show. Guys, make sure that you reach out to this man. He's a good dude. Obviously, you could tell that after listening to him for whatever it's been, 45 minutes or so. Guys, take this shit and apply it. Find something in this podcast and apply it. Tweak, change, adjust something. Lock yourself in an office if you got a problem. We all got problems. Start mapping that shit. Take that one simple action. Just move in the direction of starting to solve, and then the how you solve it will become clear later, but just start taking action in the right direction. Make sure you share the show with somebody that you love and care about. I know this one would definitely bring value to any ears that listen to it. So other than that, guys, take care, kick ass, and have a good week.